The camera's steady here. It's not working right. Sorry about that. There we go. Hope there's not too much glare. Hello, BookTube. This is Alan. Back again with another video. This is for Faith, the Faith in Books. She said that May is magazine month. So I went looking around, see if I could find any magazines, and that there's an old chest that's sitting over here to the side. Underneath the windows, an old chest that my mother's mother had. And inside was this book, Literary Life. And it's put out by Abbey Press, published monthly, and this is December 1901. It was founded in 1884. So let's go through this, and basically it's, I haven't looked through this yet. Let's see what we have here. Might be of interest. Oh, here's a page. It's called A Page of Dixon Senia. This one right here. So Charles Dickens was one of the many young law students who deserted the bar for the press. It would seem as if there was some peculiar feature about the study of law which brings out whether literary talent a man may possess, judging from the literary lawyers that have made their names known to the reading public. Dickens's Cricket on the Hearth is one of the most exquisite pieces of literary workmanship that has ever been produced, and its greatest charm lies in the absolute simplicity. The new edition of this little gem, which is to be brought out by a New York publishing house, is to have a frontispiece, a reproduction from a miniature of Charles Dickens, which is the first picture he had ever taken. So let's move on a little bit. There's one called Behind the Grill, Some Experiences of a Country Bank Cashier by Duncan Francis Young. It is New York, Abbey Press, for 50 cents. The title of this little book, one might imagine the narrator had been guilty of some offense, but on the contrary, he was on the right side of the grill, where he could not only finger the delighted coin, but observe his fellow man less fortunate than he. And as a result of the latter, we are given these exceptional, clever little sketches of human nature, its oddities and eccentricities. That's a hard word for me to pronounce. Mr. Young has narrated the experience that fall to the lot of a bank cashier. He comments by telling how he happened to get that position, and then goes on to describe the president, who was about as stout as I am long. But fortunately, I was not as stout as he was long, for he had been so we would not have had any room in the small space we occupied to place any deposit we might have received. This is a keen sense of humor throughout the book, which gives it a charm of its own. It is written in a bright, clever style without any attempt at so-called fine writing, which mars so many otherwise good books. In the author's preface, he says, every writer should have a purpose in imposing a work upon his readers, and my purpose is to prove from an inside source the injustice that is perpetrated upon a class whose duties are so little well known by the outside world. In this respect, the author has greatly succeeded. As a whole, it's an excellent little book, and one that affords its readers a great deal of enjoyment. So these are just book reviews called Behind the Grill, Some Experiences of Country Bank Cashier by Duncan Francis Young. And and there's a lot of book reviews in here. There's one by writer of the day, Miss John M. Clay, the author of Uncle Phil. And let's see what we have here. might be good for reading. Over the Plum Pudding by John Henry Bangs. $1.15, by the way. It's 245 pages. Mr. Bangs is as humorous as ever, especially the first tale, from which the volume receives its title. The theme of this one is the history of the book of Christmas stories to be written by celebrities, but which were never published, and Mr. Bangs tells the reason why, given excerpts from the tales. Among the contributors were Hal Caine, Kipling, Richard Harding Davis, Lang, Meredith, and others. Mr. Bangs' imitation of the style of these literary lights is charming, and we feel that while he lives to reproduce them, they can never die. Other clever stories in the books are Bill's, M.D., the Amalgamated Brotherhood of Spooks, Hans Pumpernickel's Virgil, and A Glance Ahead. These stories have already appeared in various magazines, but are now published together in a more lasting form. The volume is daintily bound with frontispiece, portrait of the author, and fully illustrated. And let's see what else we have here. There's a history of Richard comedy. The Story of a Young Man, A Life of Christ by Clifford Howard. 240 pages. Today and Yesterday, History Monthly by Manor Publishing Company. 19 centuries ago and now. I'm just looking to see if it's a lot of reviews here. Jack Racer by Henry Somerville. The Story of Manhattan by Charles Hemstreet. How Tommy Was Cured of Crying by Gertrude R. Mitchell. Illustrated, 56 pages, 50 cents. This is one of the prettiest little collection of poems for children that has appeared for a long time. They are charmingly written and daintily illustrated from pen and ink sketches. There's some 16 poems in all, varying in length, the first from which the book takes its title being the longest. The narrator of Tommy should be read to all weeping children, that they may profit thereby and be spared the same fate. Among the other poems in the collection are How We Came to Have Sunflowers, A Santa Claus Cat, The Sunshine Fairy, and Miss Ducklin's Party. The author seems to know just what will entertain her little readers, and her style is so attractive that grown people will enjoy her verses too. Bernice Roberts Macon, the illustrator, is also entitled to her share of credit for her dainty work, which adds greatly to the text. The book is pretty bound and will make a most welcome Christmas gift, especially so because of the Christmas story it contains. Let's see what else we have here. Handy, a dictionary of prose quotations compiled by George W. Powers. That's 50 cents. This is very short. Talks with Great Workers, Powers' Thoughts and Verses by Duncan Francis Young. Mope the Fairy. Excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry about that. The Worst of Its Kind by Agnes Ada Castle. Writers of the Day. This is one C.W. Taylor. Snappy's Nippings. Author, if you had written a novel that was really worth reading, what would you name it? Critic, The Great Unknown. Henrietta, how was the club meeting? Horntons. Oh, the literary papers were all right, but the coffee and sandwiches were way below par. Have you seen that play called Arms and the Man? No, and I don't care to. I don't see these used to put in this vaccination business on stage. Roosevelt is an author, isn't he? Yes, I wondered if he would rather write than be president. So it's a little comical there. A typical American genius, which is the poetry and personality of Eli Wheeler Wilcox by Rodney Blake is Washington Irving in his description of English Christmas. I might read that some other time. On another video. There's a lot here. And the true long-haired poet by Sir Edward Sherburne. That's spelled Sherburne. Sherburne. The following account of one of King Charles I's favorites, taken from a Dante book entitled Cavalier Poets by Clarence M. Lindsay. So I'll read that at some other time. And we have one called London Notes. The November issue of Macmillan's magazine contains a poem of 6 stanzas, which there is every evidence to believe is hitherto unpublished works by Burns. So yeah, there's some other things in here that I'll go back and read. So yeah, that's it. That's the Literary Life, December 1901. And thank you for watching, BookTube.